thus saith the Lord, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contendeth with thee, and I will save thy children.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another weekly installment of your broadcast, Moco Resistance. Today is July 15th, year of our Lord 2023. Please share these broadcasts far and wide. We need this information to reach every household in the county as to provide and information so residents are aware of what's going on in their communities and they can get active so we can fight off this Marxist, communist, socialist occupation. Today we've entitled the episode 5, Save the Children. This comes at the heels of the movie that was released on July 4th, The Sound of Freedom. And we'll touch on how this truly epidemic worldwide has reached our country, has reached our state, and it has reached our county. And this is part of that movement that started a few weeks ago and a long time ago as well, but more recently, the fight against the Board of Education to allow parents to opt out of the transgender curriculum and the sexualized education that the Board of Education and the County Council are pushing. So this is basically is the same part of the problem, and I mean, there's no other way to put it. They want to legalize and normalize pedophilia, and that's why they're pushing this agenda, and this is a serious problem. So, welcome again. Please subscribe to our channels, YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram, and subscribe to our accounts in Twitter and Facebook. All right, let's get started. We're going to go over current events. We're going to touch on how crime is rampant. I wish I could give you good news, but that there's no end in sight in terms of the county council or the executive doing anything about it. They're deflecting the issue. They're talking about other things. They are virtue signaling like crazy everywhere. Awards this, awards that, town halls here, there. But nothing relevant and nothing materialized in terms of actually putting a plan or ideas together to resolve the issue. They know what the issue is. They've created the issue. They created the problem, and don't be surprised in a few months or before the next year's election that they come up with a grand solution. Anyway, then we're going to touch on the movie The Sound of Freedom. It's the #1 movie in the country right now, and it's raising a lot of questions, and we'll touch on that. And also how this occupation, this Marxist, communist, socialist occupation is aiding and abetting child trafficking in our county. So let's get started with the weekly roundup of Twitter. We have Mary, who's basically she tweeted something about another county council member, Will Jawando. In this case, she comments on Jawando, announcing to the world that he has raised $525,000 for his Senate race campaign. And Mary is right when she says when a council member is more concerned with raising money for their Senate run than they are with their current job. Face, he says he can't do the job he has now. So yeah, he's another puppet. He's another puppet working for the Tacoma Park Communist Cartel, and we'll go deeper into his role in the county council and how he has managed to do anything but his job in the previous years and now. And Jessica Rojas puts out a tweet where she says she refers to a video from the Reese report. I'll put the video under this video in Rumble and YouTube. And it says basically the Sound of Freedom was completed 5 years ago, but Disney fought them in courts to keep it from being released. So without me saying anything, I'll let you guys watch the Reese report yourselves. Here we go.
The Sound of Freedom was completed 5 years ago, but Disney fought them in the courts to keep it from being released. Hollywood employs several convicted pedophiles, and mostly at Disney and Nickelodeon, who specialize in children's programming and have even rehired pedophiles after they've served light sentences for raping child actors. Hollywood has been abusing children since its inception, including child actors of the 1930s such as Shirley Temple, Mickey Rooney, and Judy Garland, who wrote that she was constantly molested behind the scenes by powerful men, including MGM co-founder Louis B. Mayer. And nothing has stopped Hollywood from continuing this horrific abuse. It has been known for decades that governments have systemically abused children. Beginning in the 1960s, the German government began placing thousands of foster children into the homes of single pedophiles and continued doing it up until the 1990s. Thousands of Catholic priests have been accused of raping children, and no justice has ever come of it. Jeffrey Epstein was targeting individuals and recording them raping children as a form of blackmail so that powerful entities could control them. Epstein has disappeared, and so has his little black book. Many have claimed that Hugh Hefner was doing the same thing for the CIA that Epstein was doing. In 1976, Hefner's Playboy magazine published erotic nude pictures of a 10-year-old girl, and nobody seemed to care. The effects on these children can often be fatal, whether it's from blunt trauma or suicide, and those who survive most often struggle with it for their entire life.
To me, sexual abuse, it kills a child. I think it kills the spirit of a child. I think it kills normalcy in a child. So I just have spent a great deal of my life, walking around really as a dead person in a sense, because I almost feel like I was murdered.
Child abuse has been used as a form of trauma-based mind control because it often forces the child to disassociate, which has been known to create multiple personalities. MKUltra whistleblower Kathy O'Brien came from a family of multi-generational child abuse that sold her to the U.S. government.
I developed a compartment in my brain, a little area behind amnesic barriers that was actually the neuron pathway shutting down in my brain in order to compartmentalize the memory of the abuse so that the rest of my mind could function normally as though nothing had happened.
My father's sexual abuse expanded into child pornography. And he was sending this child pornography of me through the U.S. mails. And he was caught. The pornography was confiscated by a criminal faction of our government. The local politician approached my father and told him that he would receive immunity from prosecution if he would sell me into the CIA's MKUltra Project Monarch.
Some families practice incest and pedophilia to gain power and to maintain it. Inbred Jacob Rothschild explains it here while reading a quote from his inbred relative, James Rothschild.
In our family, we've always tried to keep love in the family. In this sense, it was more or less understood since childhood that children would never think of marrying outside the family, so that our fortune would never leave it. You couldn't write that today.
Our entire system is profiting from child slavery, about $10 billion a year in the U.S. alone. And our entire government seems to be involved. Congress has paid millions of our tax dollars to cover up their sex abuse crimes. Thousands of children are being trafficked across our southern border. And now it's become trendy to castrate children and turn them into a so-called transgender. And if we, the people, don't do something about this, then the blossoming surveillance state will have a solution. Don't be surprised if our children are soon monitored 24/7 under the guise of keeping them safe because we have failed to do so. While we cannot expect to rid the earth of all evil, something obviously needs to be done.
Yeah, this is really concerning. It goes deeper than just some movie that came out, and it's a serious issue, serious subject. And yeah, we're gonna dig deep into the movie and what information it provides. Continuing with the current events, we have Son of Money, Greg, listener from Olney, that put out a survey where he asked Montgomery County approval rating. How do you rate the performance of the current historic Moco County Council? Here you go. So there's a 93%, 2 thumbs down, disapprove of the current council, and 3.3% approve it, and still to be determined 3.3%. So this is basically, it says a lot. It says that 9 out of 10 people disapprove of the county council and the way they're handling everything. So my question to you is, the listener, the county taxpayer, law-abiding citizen, is how did the Montgomery County Council members win the elections last year if the approval rating was so low? Something to dig deep into, possible episodes. We'll see. But again, our goal is to touch everything. Nothing's off the table, and today's episode is an example of that. We're going to touch on maybe some sensitive topics, but it's the truth. We're here to provide the facts to the residents of the county who deserve and actually deserve the right to get the truth. And they're not getting the truth from the national, international, or local media sources. So we're here to provide that information. So again, share this information far and wide. Join the resistance, as we always say. Continuing with the current events, we have Marilyn Malcolm again. She's virtue signaling, taking pictures and awards. No clue what this means for actually addressing the issues and actually doing what she was selected to do. Again, not elected, selected to do. We have, and then this is the police chief. Hopefully we'll have him on the show if he's willing to talk to us. We have Maryland Politics Hangout again, talking about Will Jawando. He's raising the money for his Senate run. And we have Moco PG News. Yeah, this is a personal tweet, and hopefully he keeps going. We understand. We thank you for your efforts, and also hopefully everything will be okay. So a shout out to Moco PG News. God bless and be well. Here's R Moro 61 says, anybody that opposes their views and doesn't conform to their narrative, they call them racist, they call them Nazis. But here he says, still not seeing it. Maybe this will help. So this is Biden, the current president of the United States, with similar reaction and mannerisms of Adolf Hitler. So, and again, this is what the communist propaganda does, is provide, they mirror, what they're doing to their opposite, to their enemies, so as they can blame the other side. Here's Greg again. Here's the hardest working council president. Again, dude, you don't need to take pictures all over the place. Do your job. We have people dying in our streets. We have businesses being robbed. We have parents, Muslim parents and minorities being called white supremacists. We're still waiting for you to say something about Mink's comments. What's wrong with you? Do your job. At least pretend you're doing your job. Anyway, here's James Santori from DMV, where he says, I think Montgomery County Executive deleted some retweets today because he didn't want to acknowledge the mass shooting on Lay Hill Road, but then he realized that what he was retweeting about today was probably not appropriate considering what had happened on Lay Hill Road. Well, Mark, yeah, people are calling Mark out, Mark Eldridge. He's again a puppet. And here's Council President Evan Glass from Epic of Moco, another account, wants seniors to age in place, but doing his best to make sure they don't. So this is one of the themes, the issues that was raised in the campaign trail last year, where a lot of residents who are on a fixed income, retired folks, were concerned about being able to afford living in the county. And yeah, this guy is not really addressing that, and among other issues. So continuing, we have this video from Mr. Willis, and this is basically a person, Anglo-Saxon person, confronting an African American person, a male, who has a Trump hat, and he basically
all over a Trump hat.
Here you go. He confronts him and says, he's offended by that hat, and he's basically going against his personal space and being rude to him. So here we go.
All over a Trump hat.
What's wrong with my hat? It's my thing. What's wrong with me supporting Trump? Why? What about
He was following this dude around Starbucks because he got on a Trump hat. Shit getting real.
He's done enough from it. What? I'm not understanding what is the problem is this to have. It's pretty cool, man. I'm not going for it. It's not that anybody ever scores for it. So, like, give me your bit. I don't have to say what's wrong with my hat? What are you going to do about me? What are you going to do about me? I'm not taking up on my hat.
Again, this shows how intolerant the woke progressive crowd is. The guy's wearing a hat. What's wrong with him wearing a hat? This is a free country still, and we can wear whatever we want. We can, like Evan Glass, he can fly his multicolor flag. He has the freedom to do so. And this guy who's wearing a hat, what's wrong with that? Anyway, this is just a result of the mind control propaganda being spewed by the media and at all levels. This has divided our society, and this comes as I commented last week. They want to divide us. They want to they want us to confront each other, and this is what they want. They want confrontation between us. They don't want us united because they know if we're united, that we're going to come after them, and we're going to realize, we're going to call on their lies. We're going to see what's really going on, and then they're going to lose power. They're afraid of us. If we come together, we have a lot of power to make sure things are done correctly and to make things right again. And this is not, it's at this point, it's not, the Democrats, the Republicans, the independents. It's about doing the right thing for our kids, for our communities, for our cities, for education. And this is the message. That's why we've created this channel, to spread the truth. We'll call out, evil wherever it comes from. And so continuing, we have again, the the propaganda, the divisiveness, the way the way they control us through music, the media, movies, etc., and this is an example of that right here. This is from my thin formed account. Thank you for putting this out. And this is basically the person says, the tweet goes, these students were punished for rightfully pushing back against the idea that a fellow classmate should be referred to as a cat. The woke indoctrination playbook is on full display here, and yet the students brilliantly stood their ground. So again, this is not in the United States. This is in the UK, I believe. But this is an example. This is an example of, again, that everything that we're seeing today in our county, it doesn't only happen in our county. It's happening in our state, in our country, and worldwide. So here we go.
You just really upset someone. Saying things like should be in an asylum.
I didn't say that. I just said if they want to identify as a cat or something, then they're like genuinely on that. And they've gone, yeah, they're crazy.
You were questioning their identity.
No, I wasn't a question. I was just saying about the gender. I haven't said anything about them.
But where do you get this idea from? There's only two genders.
I just think it's my opinion. That is my opinion. If I respect their opinion, can't they respect my opinion?
It is not an opinion.
Yes, it is.
It's not an opinion.
There's only two
have.
genders. Those people think there's only two genders.
There's only a boy and a girl.
There's no other private part. There's only two.
Gender is not linked to do with not linked to the parts that you were born with. Gender is about how you identify, which is what I said right from the very beginning of the lesson.
I just don't agree with that. So why should I have to listen to
biological sex, there is actually three biological sexes, because you can be born intersex. You can be born with male and female body parts or hormones.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, there's three. There's not three numbers.
Doesn't mean.
Yeah, there's three. I'm talking about biological sex. In terms of gender, there are lots of genders. There is transgender. There is agender, people that don't believe they have a gender at all.
Yeah, but you can't have that.
You can't have that. It's not a law.
Yeah, no, it's not a law. It's our opinion. We just don't agree with it. We just think it's all just.
If you have a vagina, you're a girl. If you have a penis, you're a boy.
Yeah.
But cisgender is not necessarily the way to be. You were talking about the fact that cisgender is the norm. That you identify with the gender of the sexual order that you're born with or you're with. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which is really despicable.
How? When it's
if I called my mum right now, my mum would kill my side.
If I called my mum, she'd say.
Well, that's very sad as well then.
How is it?
Loads of people agree with that. There's only a small majority of people who actually think that.
And why do you think we have so many problems in the world with homophobia?
Yeah, but
Because
that's not
homophobia.
homophobia, that's gender.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
it
fine with
is.
lesbians and gay people.
Same.
I've got nothing against it.
Yeah, same.
But gender there is a link between it, and you're saying that people can't
isn't
change
No, they
who they want
can't.
to be.
They can't. Unless you get
Yes,
a penis
I am.
attached. No, I'm not.
You're confusing sex and gender.
No, I'm not though. Because
Yes,
if you have
you
a
are.
vagina, you're a girl. If you have a penis, you're a boy.
Yeah, you can't have a vagina and be a girl, but then
Gender
identify
is-
as separate.
Even then,
Gender
because
is
you've got
about
those
how
genes.
you identity.
I
How
just
you
don't agree with
identify.
it.
Yeah,
It's
that's fine.
not an opinion that
Yes,
we
it is.
express in this
Yes,
school.
it is.
No, it's not. And if you don't like it, you need to go to a different school. So
I did go to a
I'm
different
reporting you to Miss Willis. You need to have a proper educational conversation about equality, diversity, and
I ain't
inclusion.
doing it. I'm not
Because
doing
I'm
that.
not having that expressed in my lesson.
So as you were able to hear and see, there's this woke progressive propaganda is being spewed all over the world, and kids are standing up. Good for them. We got to pray for all the people, all the kids who are fighting against this madness. So yeah, let's continue to highlight the news. Unfortunately, there was another shooting in Silver Spring on July 13th. At least 6 people were taken to the hospital after a shooting outside Sola, the Italia restaurant on Lay Hill Road. This is the incident that one of the tweet accounts was talking about earlier. So, and yeah, we have shootings, we have people dying, we have people, families not being able to go out safely on, to enjoy the social life or to eat out or anything. People are being killed in parking lots in Silver Spring, and yet the county council doesn't do anything. All right, here we have county council Eldridge. He's doing he did a community forum in Wheaton. I don't know why he's doing this, but it's really full, as you can see right there, really full of people and doing nothing. And this is just a way to trick the residents into thinking that they are actually active in the community and they are doing their job. This is just a show. This is a show. They're not doing anything. Malcolm, Don Litke, they're doing town halls and everywhere. But at this point, you don't need to do town halls. You need to address the issue. You need to remove the legal restraints from the police department in order for them to do their job. Stop protecting criminals and start protecting residents. It's that simple. Very simple. Here's Maryland Politics Hangout. While crime is out of control in Montgomery County. This is somebody reading the tweet. Somebody broke the window glass at the Dunkin' Donuts on East Scooty Drive in Rockville. Installed their cash register last weekend. Yep. So businesses are suffering. Residents are suffering. Moms, children, everybody. People are dying. Who voted for these people? Continuing, so we've covered current events. Crime is rampant right now, and to be honest, I was suspecting this. But not as much. But it goes to show you, how people in the county have been lied to, and they're continuing to be lied to. So crime is rampant, and this is I don't have any recent data. I'm trying to get the latest data on weekly crime statistics, but this is from last year. This is the numbers of the crime statistics, and I used this during the debate I had in Albany with Don Litke. And one thing I wanted to highlight, I didn't have a chance to highlight then, was human trafficking. So human trafficking, in comparison from 2021 to 2022 to June and September of last year, it increased by 600%. Now, let that sink in a little bit. It's a huge increase, and this is basically this follow the science, follow the data, right? So this data shows how the sanctuary status of our county is aiding and abetting this human trafficking problem. And so this issue of human trafficking is not isolated. We are suffering the same issue here in the county, is because in the open borders in the South, and how the Democrat Party has, in the current Biden administration, in all of its levels, state and countywide, are actually making it possible for human traffickers to thrive. And this is just another proof that the issue is right, around our corner. So, keep that in mind when you go out with your families, when you go out and shopping and stuff. So make sure you are very aware of this. And council and executive deflecting issue. So this is the anti-hate task force that they created. The only hate I see is coming from them. I don't see, I get along. I've lived in the county most of my life, and lived in Silver Spring. We lived in a mostly African-American community, never had any issues. Lived in a mostly Anglo-Saxon community, didn't have any issues. Lived in a mostly Hispanic community, didn't have any issues. and this is just a way to deflect the attention from what's really going on. And this is, I mean, if you think that creating this will ease the public outcry against your incompetence, well, good luck to you, but it's not working. Residents are waking up to the facts, waking up to what's really going on, and it's an issue, and it's a problem, and we need to address it head on. And yeah, the county executive using virtual signaling, they're basically doing anything but. They're taking pictures and in social ceremonies and not really addressing the issue. And here's so this comes as on the heels of The Sound of Freedom. The Sound of Freedom is a movie based on real events, and this is what's going on. The local media, the national media are not talking about this, and they're pinning this as a conspiracy theory. It's not. I mean, I just showed you the data in from our county. That's a problem. I showed you the video of the Reese report that says that this problem is wide, and it's a pandemic. It's an epidemic of biblical proportions that the local media, the bought off mainstream media doesn't want to touch, and they are basically doing everything in their power to ridicule this, to pass it off, to negate. AMC theaters, for example, are basically sabotaging its customers. They're turning off the air conditioning in movie theaters. They're telling them, they're doing anything to stop people from watching this. And this is a very important movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go watch it. It's an issue, and it's part of that agenda. It's part of that agenda to make our kids, desensitize them from sexualized education. And let's be clear, the other side, the woke progressive narrative, the Democrat Party, they want to make pedophilia normal, and they want to make it legal. Put that in your head before you watch this preview.
How'd that make you feel? Giving a child his freedom. Felt good. You have been at this for 12 years.
My country, 'tis of thee.
Why are you doing it?
Because God's children are not for sale. It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
And yet somehow, you have failed to bring me one real-world lead.
It's over, Tim. Close up and come back home.
So you quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
South of that river is all rebel territory.
No one goes in. What if this was your daughter?
So, she's gone. Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
So that was the preview for the movie. I know most of you have watched it, have gone, and I highly recommend it. it touches on a real life event that happened, and I wish this was fiction. I wish this was something from Hollywood that would just be a dramatic story, an isolated story, but this is happening all over the country. This is happening all over the world, and this is what our parents, like myself and others, are fighting for. And this should open your eyes to what's really going on. And it's an epidemic. And here's a little summary for give you more data on what's going on.
Do you know that the United States is the greatest consumer of child sex trafficking? And Mexico is the greatest provider. Do you know the Biden administration is the greatest underwriter of child sex trafficking? By having an open border, catch this, they are literally letting millions of trafficking cartel dollars and gangs bring drugs and child sex slaves in and out. We're dealing with corruption at an unprecedented level.
Yeah, this is the Biden administration is aiding and abetting child trafficking in our southern border, and they are criminal. The impeachment process for Biden should be increasing in the next few days, and this is a problem. This is why the woke progressive agenda is pushing the LGBTQ plus agenda. This is why the Board of Education in our county is pushing this. This is why the county council doesn't want to make any comments on Mink's racist comments calling Muslims and Ethiopians white supremacists. And last week we talked about the Great Awakening, and this is the Great Awakening. This is part of that. And Moco Resistance is happy and humbled to be part of this process. We are the opposition. We are the resistance, because the county, the executive have gone too far in terms of ignoring the issues, ignoring the pleads from parents, families, children. And yeah, this should wake you up. Share this information far and wide. And I mean, this is not on purpose. This is what the Democrat Party in the current administration want to do. They want to destroy the country, and this is part of it. They illegals are coming in. Illegals are terrorists are infiltrated in those illegals coming in, and they're not vetting the people. They're not vetting anybody that comes in, and a lot of kids are coming without any parents, and they are being sold. They're being traded. They're being used as basically property. And so, if you see a lot of crime, around your neighborhood, it's everything is related. Again, nothing that happens in the county, it happens in a vacuum. It's part of that agenda. It's part of the Biden administration. It's part of the Moore administration at the state level, and it's part of the Eldridge Evan Glass administration at the county level. So here's an exchange of a hearing, a Senate committee hearing that happened between Ted Cruz and Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas. Mayorkas is being questioned about the southern border and how, under his watch, everything has gone down the tube in terms of increased illegals, increased child trafficking, human trafficking, and it's concerning. So here's part of that hearing.
Good morning, Secretary Mayorkas.
Good morning.
Is there a crisis at our southern border?
Senator, there is a very significant...
That's a yes or no question.
There's a very significant...
Is there a crisis?
Senator, there's a very significant challenge.
I think your microphone is not on.
there is a very significant challenge that we are facing.
Yes or no,
at the
is
southern
there a
border.
crisis?
I believe I've addressed that question.
So you're
Senator.
refusing to answer?
Senator, there is a very significant challenge, and
Will
we
you
are
answer if there's a
therefore-
crisis?
Therefore, we are dedicating the resources.
Okay, so you're refusing
that
to answer. Well, Secretary Mayorkas, I'll tell you someone who is willing to answer, which is your and President Biden's chief of the Border Patrol in a sworn deposition in July of 2022 when asked, would you agree, Chief Ortiz, that the southern border is currently in crisis? Answer, yes. Notice none of those wiggle words, none of that equivocation. One word, one syllable, yes. Are you willing to speak with the same clarity as Chief Ortiz? Is there a crisis at our southern border, yes or no?
Senator, I'm very proud to work alongside.
So you
and
refuse to
support-
answer. Let me ask you the next question. Has the crisis at our southern border made Americans less safe, yes or no?
Senator, we are dedicated to the safety.
Has
and
the crisis
security
made Americans less
of
safe? I don't want a discourse. It's a yes or no question.
Senator, we have a challenge of.
You refuse to
immigration.
answer the question.
Not.
Mr. Secretary, let me show you how someone doing his job answers a question in a straightforward manner. Chief Ortiz, is the crisis that is currently ongoing at the southern border making the border less safe for Americans and aliens alike? Answer, yes. One word, one syllable, 3 letters. That's how someone answers a question and does their job. You're being a politician misleading the American people. Let me give you a chance again. Will you show the same integrity Chief Ortiz shows? Is the crisis at the southern border making Americans less safe? Yes or no?
Senator, we have 260,000.
You refuse to answer the question. Let's move on.
And security of the
Next
American
question, Mr. Mayorkas. Has the crisis made aliens less safe? Yes or no?
Senator, we are seeking.
So you won't answer that question either. It's a yes or no. Has it made aliens less safe?
Senator, smugglers are exploiting.
Has the
vulnerable
crisis made aliens, yes, less safe? Are you willing to answer it?
Senator, the smuggling organizations.
Okay, you're
seek to
filibustering again. Let me ask you this question. How many migrants have died under President Biden?
Senator, your phrasing of the question is actually quite misleading.
How many migrants died in 2022?
Approaching our southern border?
Yes.
Precisely why we are seeking to exclude the smuggling
do you know the answer? Do you know how many died?
I do not.
You do not. Of course you don't. I know how many died. 853.
That is
853. And by the way, here are the numbers that have died every year. You go back to 1998, you see it's consistently between 300 and 400, 300, 400, 300, 400. Suddenly, 2021, what happens? You get in office, and that red line are dead bodies. I've been on the Rio Grande, and I've seen dead bodies floating there who've drowned because of your refusal to do your job. You don't even know how many have died. What do you say to the Texas farmers and ranchers who find pregnant ladies dead on their property, who find toddlers dead on their property? What do you say to them?
I say that is why precisely we are taking it to the smuggling organizations.
But you are not. That is simply not true.
Number two, it is why we are dedicated.
Let me read from the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal 2 weeks ago ran an article entitled, "It's like a graveyard. Record numbers of migrants are dying at the border." The story begins with this chilling line, quote, Eagle Pass, Texas. Local officials keep a refrigerated truck to hold the bodies of migrants who drown in the currents of the Rio Grande while trying to cross the border into the U.S. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that this article be entered into the record. Let me ask you a different question. How many children have been sexually assaulted by human traffickers under the Biden administration?
Senator, this is precisely why we instituted.
I don't want a lecture. It's a question. How many children have been sexually assaulted by human traffickers under your administration?
Senator, this is exactly why on January 5th we announced the parole
do you know
program.
how many? Do you know how many children have been sexually assaulted?
This is why we.
Okay, you're going to refuse to answer that question as well. Let's move on. It's obvious you've been instructed to stonewall, so I'm not going to let you. You don't get to stonewall and filibuster. Now, one of my Democratic colleagues before said the Democrat talking point, quote, this problem didn't start under Biden. Look, I get if you're a partisan spinner, you got to figure out something to say about the absolute catastrophe that has played out under the Biden administration. True or false, Secretary Mayorkas, 2020 was the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. Is that true or false?
It is certainly the lowest level of immigration in many, many years. And what was it in 2020? What was it, Senator, in 2020 that impacted the entire world, including the United States?
Okay, so your testimony is the reason we had the lowest rate was COVID. It had nothing to do with building the wall, nothing to do with any catch and release, nothing to do with Remain in Mexico. With all respect, Mr. Secretary, that answer is laughable. And in fact, if you look at illegal immigration, let's look at CBP encounters. You can see 500,000, 500,000. It drops to the lowest level, and boom, what happens? You show up. And that red line is you. That red line is Joe Biden. And you're claiming nothing happened. Oh, gosh, this was here before us. No, you made the decision to allow this to happen. Let me ask you, we now have over 5.5 million people who've entered this country illegally under Joe Biden. How many murderers have you released into America?
Senator, I'm not aware of any murderer whom we've...
So you don't know?
Senator, let me say something.
Do you know?
If you take a look at...
No, you don't get to give a speech. Do you know how many murderers you've released?
I'm just trying to answer your question.
How many rapists have you released?
Senator, I'm trying to answer your question.
You can answer, I know or I don't know.
Senator, any individual who poses a public safety threat...
How many child molesters have you released?
...and removed into the United States, from the United States.
Oh, so your testimony under oath, subject to perjury, is that you have not released any murderers, rapists, or child molesters among the 5.5 million? Is that your testimony?
Mr. Chairman, may I have the opportunity
No, you may not. You may answer my question.
You're not
Is that your testimony, yes or no?
Senator, you're not allowing me to answer your question.
I am allowing you to answer. I'm not allowing you to filibuster.
If you take a look at the pace of immigration in 2018 to 2019...
You're refusing to answer. Let's move on. Let's move on to gotaways. Gotaways are the people that get away that you know about. Now, what happened under your administration? Gotaways consistently down at this low line. Boom, you get in. And they go from below 180,000 to 600,000. Now, I'll tell you this about a gotaway. You don't know among those 600,000 a year, you have no idea how many are murderers, correct?
That is precisely why the number of gotaways...
Do you know how many of those are murderers?
That is precisely why...
So you refuse to answer the question. You know how many are rapists? Do you know how many are rapists? This is a question. You're a lawyer. You know how to answer questions. Of the 600,000, do you know how many of them were rapists?
Senator, this is why
the answer is no. Let me ask you this. Do you know how many of them are terrorists? And I don't want to, Senator, here's my lecture on this. Do you know how many of the 600,000 gotaways were terrorists? Yes or no?
Senator, we are focused on the...
You refuse to answer that as well. What's the result of massive gotaways? Well, one of the results is drug overdoses. And we now have, last year, over 100,000 overdoses who died, the majority from Chinese fentanyl streaming across the border. Now, you told Senator Cornyn you care, but look what has happened under your policy. When you open up the border to the worst illegal immigration in our nation's history, people die. You claim you care. Mr. Secretary, that is a lie. You know, some months ago, Karine Jean-Pierre stood up at a White House briefing and said, people are not just walking across the border. Was she telling the truth?
Senator, you are...
Was she telling the truth?
So profoundly disrespecting...
Was she telling the truth?
22 years of government service.
You get to answer questions. You don't get to give speeches.
Senator, I served as a federal prosecutor.
All right, you're refusing to answer. If you look at, she was lying, and she was not lying on her own. She was lying on behalf of the President of the United States. Now, the photograph of people walking. She was lying on behalf of the President of the United States. This is a photograph from just one day along the Rio Grande of hundreds of thousands of people walking across the border. You have allowed this to happen. The photograph that was before. What are these wristbands?
I don't know what they are.
You don't know what they are. Mr. Secretary, you have just testified to the American people you're incompetent at your job, because I've been to the southern border, and if you go to the southern border, along the southern border, you see thousands of these wristbands because the illegal immigrants wear them. The drug cartels, every color corresponds to how many thousands of dollars they owe the cartels. You have turned these cartels into multi-billion-dollar criminal organizations, and these are modern-day leg irons because these are children being sold into sex slavery, and you don't even know what they are. That is astonishing. Mr. Secretary, how many children have been sold into sex slavery under your administration?
Senator, we are taking it to the cartels.
How many children have been sold into sex slavery? Do you know how many children have been sold into sex slavery?
To an unprecedented degree.
Mr. Secretary, I want to say to you right now, your behavior is disgraceful, and the deaths, the children assaulted, the children raped, they are at your feet, and if you had integrity, you would resign. And I will tell you, the men and women of the Border Patrol, they've never had a political leader undermine them. They despise you, Mr. Secretary, because you're willing to let children be raped to follow political orders. This is a crisis. It's a disgrace. And you won't even admit this human tragedy is a crisis.
So you see the correlation, right? You see the over 5 million illegals that are coming. And of course, our government hasn't been able to vet most of them, and you have criminals, you have terrorists coming in, and that's why you're seeing. That's one of the reasons you're seeing a lot of violence, a lot of crime spiking all over the country, especially in Montgomery County, is because criminals have infiltrated those illegal crossings, and they are part of that crime scene in the whole country, in the state of Maryland and Montgomery County. As you could hear and listen and see, the Biden administration is responsible for the uptick in human trafficking in the United States, and is directly involved with the uptick of 600% increase or more in the county, as you were able to see. It's concerning. This should concern every parent, every resident in the county, because we are under an occupation that does not listen to your needs, that does not listen to your concerns, that is not working for you. We have the media at all levels working for this Biden administration, for this Democrat woke progressive agenda. And again, I'm going to repeat it numerous times. They want to legalize and normalize pedophilia. They want to destroy our country. They want us fighting with each other, man, woman, anything that divides us completely. And for this reason, we see the mainstream media coming to the rescue of this woke progressive Democrat agenda. And here's an example of how they have portrayed and depicted the movie Sound of Freedom, and how they're basically calling it a conspiracy theory, which is completely wrong, completely inaccurate. I mean, in this episode, you were given, you have been shown the facts, the data. The data doesn't lie. The facts don't lie. We are under an occupation that thrives on human child trafficking, and they want to legalize pedophilia. Here's a summary of what the mainstream media is doing.
The conspiratorial thinking that has led many Americans to raise awareness about child sex trafficking epidemic that simply does not exist. Tell us first of all about the conspiracy that's being pushed here.
It's become sort of a popular piece of folklore now that there is this epidemic of child sex trafficking and children vanishing in the United States, and that the government or the media is either complicit in some way or just willfully overlooking it.
You know, we were talking actually a couple days ago about conspiracy theories that have always been with us. Lyndon Johnson killed
JFK. Bill Clinton killed all these people, all of these conspiracy theories.
These films are created out of bogus statistics, and with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites. Now, it's not true, but it's a very comforting and it's a very warm feeling to have.
It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail.
Epstein's death, I think we will see, was a suicide.
I've seen firsthand the suffering that trafficking causes.
And what we had it was a QAnon rally, putting their children out there with, shirts with hand-printed signs saying, "I'm not for sale." And it's a really easy way to recruit people into an organization that quickly red pills them into thinking that there are child predators everywhere they look. It's dangerous.
Take a look at what the Rolling Stone said. This is a review. They're saying The Sound of Freedom, the QAnon-tinged thriller about child trafficking, is designed to appeal to the conscience of a conspiracy-addled boomer. So why does Rolling Stone have this take?
Did you follow anybody who had got into a conspiracy theory that there was this huge sex trafficking problem of children in the US and then actually realized there wasn't?
How many children have been sexually assaulted by human traffickers under the Biden administration?
Senator, this is precisely why.
No, you made the decision to allow this to happen. What are these wristbands?
I don't know what they are.
You don't know what they are. These are modern day leg irons because these are children being sold into sex slavery and you don't even know what they are. And the deaths, the children assaulted, the children raped, they are at your feet. And if you had integrity, you would resign.
Did you ever think that after being suppressed by every studio in Hollywood and all the media, that you'd ever have an opening week that you basically topped Indiana Jones, came out third overall, but beat Indiana Jones heads up on July 4th and got $40 million at box office, sir?
No. I never imagined that, Steve. Pray for us. En nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Let's go, brother. Que viva la libertad.
So the mainstream media is coming full force, trying to cover for this, for pedophiles, for the Biden administration. And it makes sense. They're bought and paid for. They don't work for us. They don't work for the public. And so the first thing you need to do is wrap your head around this fact that the mainstream media is the enemy at all levels. And the day you do that is the day you start your awakening process. Please share this episode with friends and family in your social circles. Follow us at Twitter and Facebook, and subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram. This concludes episode 5. Thank you for your attention. Join us. Join the resistance.
But thus saith the Lord, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contendeth with thee, and I will save thy children.